You have had the same idea for your career, your business, or your relationships for 2 or 3 years, but instead of starting, you jam completely and take absolutely zero forward action. Analysis of people who intend to follow their dreams shows a 50% success rate. It is a statistical toss-up. Half will execute, and the other half will remain stuck in the dreaming phase. We usually tell ourselves that we are just waiting for the right moment. We convince ourselves that we need a co-founder, a better economy, or a flawless business plan before we can begin. The reality is, the timing is fine. We are actively getting in our own way. We burn through our mental focus navigating hidden psychological roadblocks, spinning our wheels internally instead of generating actual momentum. Moving past this standstill requires recognizing and then dismantling 3 specific cognitive traps that keep you paralyzed. The first barrier is the permission void. This is an internal imposter syndrome where you constantly question your own worth, asking yourself, "What am I doing here? I do not belong." This insecurity turns into a desperate waiting game. You hold back, expecting someone else to tap you on the shoulder and grant you the formal authority to start your own endeavor. To cope with the waiting, we hide. We take shelter behind the perceived safety of corporate titles, business partners, or prestigious institutional brand names to validate our existence. Associating with these powerful entities is a defense mechanism. It protects us from the raw risk of standing in the spotlight all by ourselves, where we would be fully responsible for the outcome. Breaking free requires a very harsh realization. External permission is never going to arrive. You have to stop looking for a proxy and choose to bet on yourself. The second barrier is the standardization trap. This triggers paralysis the moment you compare your beginnings to the efficiency of artificial intelligence and the rehearsed playbooks of industry experts. Because machines can generate outputs instantly and experts offer step-by-step guides for success, we assume we have to copy their methods to compete. But constantly catering to this external noise, trying to speak faster, hack an algorithm, or mimic what already works, creates social fatigue. Following a standard operating process simply turns you into a standard operating product, indistinguishable from the rest of the market. The psychologist Carl Jung suggested that until we become aware of what is happening inside our own minds, we will keep believing that external events are just fate. Achieving self-awareness means pulling away from the noise to understand your own thoughts. This is why highly self-aware people often retreat into solitude. It is not out of arrogance. They use silence to recharge their minds and filter out the pressure of standard expectations. There is an alternative to the cold, optimized output of a machine playbook. As the poet Javed Akhtar suggests, it is the contradiction between your hot-blooded emotions and your cold-blooded craft that makes your output poetic. You cannot differentiate yourself by trying to outspeed an algorithm. Your real value lies in the unique authenticity of your human judgment and taste. The final barrier is the fragmented identity. We spend our lives convinced that to succeed, we must be one clean, specialized professional, an engineer, a marketer, or a CEO, and nothing else. We look at our varied past careers and odd experiences as misfits. We treat them like flaws on a resume, instead of recognizing them as the source of our originality. Look at this diagram of guitar strings. Bringing one isolated facet of your life is playing a single note, thin and lacking depth. But press mismatched experiences together, a monk's discipline, a drummer's rhythm, a CEO's strategy, and they generate a complex harmony. This combination of tensions creates a unique fingerprint. By applying the timing of a musician to the decisions of a board member, you produce a style of judgment that an algorithm cannot replicate because it lacks those specific, conflicting data points. Escaping these 3 traps does not result in a sudden, cinematic explosion of success. Instead, it brings a quiet, intentional state of clarity. The internal shift happens when you realize nobody is coming to give you permission, and that trying to fit into industry molds was the very anchor holding you down. Real confidence grows from self-respect and the willingness to draft your own playbook, regardless of outside approval. Stop waiting. Embrace your internal contradictions and your fragmented background, and take the smallest possible step toward your idea right now. Unexpressed ambition is a tragedy. You have to start putting the pieces together, because a note you refuse to play can never become a song.